Let me set a scene for you. I walk into AF1 Racing to pick up a motorcycle that I'm getting ready to film a video on. While I'm waiting for the bike to get prepped, I'm just wandering around the showroom looking at fancy motorcycles. Then on a shelf by the parts counter, I spot one of these, a Kabuto helmet. And I sit there wondering, what the fuck is Kabuto? Shoei gives you a no-nonsense, no-frills, high-quality helmet. Arai gives you an egg-shaped Shoei. Alpinestars gives you some icon-level graphics and the most innovative sheet of plastic I've seen in a hot minute. AGV gives shirtless TikTokers an expensive way to cover their shame.
Second thoughts, let's not go to
Bike talk.
It is a silly place.
But Kabuto? I'd never heard of them before, and as it turns out, the American warehouse for Kabuto helmets is right here in Central Texas, just a few minutes south of me. So I drove my ass down there to meet with the team, which at the time was just a guy. He had his wife helping him out too, and they showed me around, walked me through the helmet, then sent me on my way with this F-17 GP, one of the 3 helmets they currently offer. I was gearing up to do the standard helmet look-see, ride around in it, compare it to some of the other helmets I have experience with, and Bob's Your Uncle YouTube video. But the team at Kabuto specifically said they didn't want to see the standard side-by-side comparison thing. Really? I already have the shot set up. Ugh, fine. And it's not because they don't think they can stack up, but because they want to stand on their own. So that actually forced me to reconsider how I was going to make this video, and so I've spent the last few months wearing this helmet both on and off camera, and I'm really excited to share my thoughts with you. Now, Kabuto did give me this helmet, so you can consider it a sponsored video. However, I did offer to pay for the helmet when I picked it up, but they turned me down. That said, I'm not treating this thing with the kid gloves. It's a $1,000 helmet and it needs to be looked at like one. However, you're more than welcome to take everything I have to say with a grain of salt. So let's talk first impressions. I'm not gonna lie, it's a wee tad on the heavy side. My calibrated elbow says fully loaded with a cardo and a camera rig, we're close to 5 pounds. And my package scale says that it's 4 pounds 9 ounces, which does put it on the heavier side with some of the other helmets that I've been wearing on the channel, but not by much. The build quality here is second to none. That's actually one of the reasons why I was so excited about it when I saw it at AF1 Racing. I picked it up and it immediately felt like a premium lid, and I have at least a passing familiarity with just about every premium helmet on the market right now. Lastly, there's the face shield mechanism, and I do like the way that this works. The button is super easy to use. However, there are some things we're going to talk about a little bit later on when we're talking about improvements I could see being made to this helmet. And that brings me to the safety certs. And I'm happy to report that this thing has the DOT sticker on there, certifying that this is in fact a helmet-shaped object. Then we've also got the ECE 2206 certification, which means that this thing meets the European helmet standards and that this is actually safe to put on your head. But I can do you one better. This sticker right here on the strap certifies that this thing meets the FIM standards, which certifies it for race use. That's one of the coolest things about this helmet is right out of the box, you're wearing the same helmet that Aleix Espargo, Joan Mir, or Michel Pirot are wearing on the racetrack in MotoGP. Now, make it safer. All right, cool, I gotcha. How about MIPS? MIPS, in case you're out of the loop, is a slip plane that sits between your helmet and your head that allows the helmet to turn a little on impact, and that helps reduce rotational or twisting forces in a crash. I know someone's gonna ask what this big black square thing on the back of my helmet is. That's actually the mount for the BrakeFree helmet light that I wear with this helmet. You can actually just slide it right there on the back and you can see it lights up, letting everybody know that you're slowing down. So if you're out there riding around in traffic, this is a godsend. And if you've got multiple helmets, you can just pop it right off and then put it back on in a second. If you wanted to check this thing out, there is also a link down in the description below where you can get $10 off your order, and there's a code down there too. Now that's all cool in theory, but how about we see this thing in action? And I gotcha. We're gonna take this out on Coda on my Super Duke, which is literally the worst case scenario I can think to throw at a helmet.
Let's let the Duke eat, shall we? This one's really fun. You're way leaned off the bike, way over. Adding power down out of 18 into 19 and down the front straight. Let's go!
The best thing I can say about the F-17 GP right here is how rock solid it is going down the back straight of Kota at over 150 miles an hour on a naked bike. And the crazy thing is, just listen to how quiet the audio is.
Really dig this wide field of view here. Oh, it's so nice. I can see exactly where I'm going. Especially right here. 15, you're looking so deep through this corner.
I'm telling you right now, this is one of the quietest helmets I've ever worn. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You heard me talking about the wide horizontal field of view, but
this is where I think I have the biggest struggle, because downhill into 2 here, I'm limited slightly by the vertical field of view. I've really been spoiled by my SuperTech R10 because that has one of the widest vertical field of views in a helmet I've ever experienced.
Now look, I know we're trying to avoid the direct side-by-side comparison, but this one has to be made. The viewport just isn't where I'd like it to be. Now, I do want to caveat that slightly by saying that when I was riding on track, I had this on my chin. This is my standard vlogging rig, and it will tend to pull your helmet down. Without it, and with the helmet sitting in the proper position, it's not as bad, but in a world of colossal viewports these days, this one feels a little bit last gen. But one of the things that's kind of interesting is you would expect to see, you know, a bunch of super sports in here because these are essentially race helmets, but there's a Harley Lowrider ST.
Now, a helmet like this F-17 GP here isn't the thing that you would typically associate with a rider who's out there cranking his hog. But just because this thing has a bunch of race bike DNA in it doesn't mean you can't ride it around on the street. So I figured we'd take my VMAX out here and see how it does. But that vertical field of view issue I have kind of disappears when all you're doing is just normal street riding. It really doesn't matter as much, especially when you're on an upright bike like this. To give you an idea of what I'm seeing, I can see everything down to my tank gauges here, all the way up to about here. Another thing you heard me talk about on the track that we got to talk about again is the quiet on this lid. Sure, it's a quiet helmet, but it's doing something interesting. It's filtering out most, if not all, of the wind noise below like 70 miles an hour, but it's giving me a ton of exhaust sounds. I can hear a lot more road noise out of this helmet, and that has to do with where it stops on my head. We'll talk about that again in a second. And then one of the secret weapons that I wouldn't have expected from a helmet like this is how good my cardo sounds in it. My cardo in this helmet sounds better than just about any other helmet I've put it in. I don't know what it's down to. My guess is it's probably a mix of it filtering out wind noise and the positioning of the spots for the pucks, but it's so good. And I really would not have expected it from a sport bike lid. But we've talked about a lot of good stuff. What are some of the downsides with this helmet?
The actual mechanism to release the face shield from the helmet, it's a little bit weird because it's self-contained within the visor, and it actually takes a little bit of getting used to get it right. I've done it a handful of times, and while it comes off okay, I need to like really concentrate to get it back into place. Now, if you're the kind of person who's carrying multiple face shields for your helmet, maybe you're commuting in the morning with the sun in your eyes and you want a smoke shield, and then at night when you're coming home you want the clear shield, that's just something that you're gonna have to get used to. The next issue I have is the neck roll feels a little looser than I'd expect. It's not that the cheek pads don't fit. The issue is that it seems to stop a little bit higher up on my head than other helmets do. That's why I get a little bit more road noise out of this helmet than others, and that's not a bad thing per se. If you're one of those guys who really wants to hear your exhaust when you're riding around, this helmet will give it to you. But if they wanted to iterate on this helmet a little bit more in the future and make it even quieter, tightening up this neck roll would be my first suggestion. The last thing I want to mention is that the sizing on this helmet is a little bit annoying. Normally I'm a size large, and I know it doesn't look it on camera, my head looks completely swollen. However, when it comes to the Kabuto, this thing runs a little small, so I've had to size up to an extra large. The reason why this is a little bit annoying is currently you can really only find Kabuto helmets on their website. You can't actually go put one on your head. And I was looking online and they don't actually have a size guide. So it can be a little bit difficult to get the right sizing. However, they do have a solid returns and exchange program. But if you're anything like me, you may just want to size up and then get an extra set of cheek pads from the size down, just in case the fit isn't exactly where it needs to be. Now I want to start wrapping this video up by posing a question to you. Why do you think that Joan Mir became the 2020 MotoGP World Champion when he only won a single race? Typically, MotoGP champions have a ton of podiums that they can point to. The thing is, in 2020, that didn't happen. It was the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. The entire series was thrown on its head, and all of the guys you could typically expect to be leading the pack, they could never get a rhythm going. Meanwhile, there was Mir sitting consistently in the middle to top end of the pack. There were no big flourishes that season, and there was no point at which you were like, holy cow, this is a new generational talent we're looking at. But the thing he had going for him was solid fundamentals, and he was consistently finishing races. And I find it kind of funny now that Mir wears a Kabuto helmet in MotoGP because it's got that same kind of energy. This thing doesn't have these crazy headline-grabbing features like Alpinestars' A-head system, and it doesn't have the brand recognition of Shoei or Arai. But what it does do is it nails the fundamentals of a high-quality helmet. The biggest issue Kabuto has is not with the helmet, it's just a lack of visibility. The second there are more of these out in the wild, they're gonna absolutely crush it. Especially now that they have their Aeroblade F, which takes a lot of the stuff from this helmet and brings it down to a price point more in line with an RF 1400. Let me know if you'd like to see that video on the channel. In the meantime, you can click the link down in the description below to check out the F-17 GP here. I'll catch you guys in the next one.